everyone. We just jumped off of Clubhouse talking about today's topic, lead nurturing. And we talked about a number of different topics and follow-up strategies today. And it was super exciting. So let's get into it. So what are some things that stood out for you, Jacob?
No, I just loved going over the different CRMs and the features that are available. We talked about the follow-up features that are available. You can do a drip campaign. You have your website, but we also started off, what is a CRM? You know, it's a customer relationship management, and it's a tool. Basically, it's a database with all of your clients that are current, future, any new clients that are coming in. It's a way for you to manage your entire business and your interactions with those clients. So a CRM, especially for a real estate agent, is super important, and making sure that you're using all of the features available in your CRM. And you know, how to utilize it properly. All CRMs are a little bit different. They all have their key features. We use KV Core at EXP, and you know, it's a robust tool that allows us to not only keep track of all the conversations that we're having with our client, whether it's email, text, phone calls, things like that, allows us to see into what they're looking at as far as properties and their price points and the areas that they're looking in. So just diving into the talking about the CRM and kind of geeking out on that was probably my favorite topic today.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we started off with that, because it really is a center and it connects to all of your business activities. And I love the fact that we brought that up really earlier on, talking about some of the features that is needed in order for you to nurture your leads that are coming in. Because really thinking about the lead, the journey of a customer journey, when they're coming in as a new lead, you set up a drip campaign or some sort of a nurturing activity on them. And then when they reply back to you, they become an active lead. And then now when you start working with them, they become a client, and then you put them on contract, right? So just to understand that journey, and we talked about a little bit about that. And another thing that I really liked is that we talked about, different strategies that are involved in a drip campaign, number of touch points, what are some examples of a drip or a message that would go out, and what is really effective, and when do you do them, and how often do you do them? So for example, a call, text, or even an email. And I even shared an example of one of the ones that I had, like really putting out open-ended conversation, and even putting up, some of these communication pieces can be a question out to, and being really creative with the way that you're communicating. And another thing that I want to point out is that make sure you read these drip campaigns and the copy that there's an intention behind everything that goes out to, nurturing your leads, is because make sure they have the same voice as you are, right? Like make sure that this is the same way you are, and it's consistent with your brand, whether you're in person with your clients or on an email or call or text messages with them too.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make sure that the way you're writing these messages is exactly the way you talk, because you don't want them to start reading all these emails and text messages and they get with you in person or on the phone. They're like, whoa, like it's talking to a different person. So, and then with the drip campaigns, there's so many different types of campaigns, and it's just making sure that you have a good sequence and you have many touch points. And a lot of times we feel like we're contacting these people too much, but that's okay, because sometimes they might not read that email, or it might get sent to the spam folder or certain things, or they might not glance at it. So you want to have as many touch points as you can with them in order to kind of slowly start warming them up. So make sure that there's a logical sequence in the way you're messaging these people. I think text message works the best. Most people will respond to a text message versus an email, or most people don't pick up the phone anymore. They're very hesitant unless they know the number. So I think a text message is a great way, because they can secretly open it and read it, what it is, without feeling obligated to talk to you. And so I find more of a conversion rate with the text messages. And then, like you said, once they respond to any of those messages, whatever they respond to, the email, or they call you, or they respond to the text message, then it takes them out of that drip campaign. Now it's up to you to talk to these people and to do all this more manually than an automated drip campaign.
Absolutely. And another key point is that when you're doing it, really, again, intentional on what you're posting, right? So let's say you're doing a voicemail, don't leave all of your script in your voicemail, right? You want to leave enough information that it's kind of a piques the interest, that curiosity point for people to call you back, so you can continue that conversation and to build that relationship. And this is why I some of the features within your CRM is so important is because you can use that to leverage you. I love that we have a search alert function so that you can automatically set up search as they come in, and they could be implemented depending on the search that they, the criteria that each of the buyers or seller fits into. And I also love the fact that, giving out search alerts to sellers who are looking to sell in that area, to show that here are some of the properties that are being sold, that are coming into market, that these are what are priced at. I think that really taking this idea and taking it to another level and nurturing them through these activities is super important. And another thing that we talked about today is, in the follow-up strategies is overcoming objections. And to me, when I think about objections, it really is a mindset, right? Right away from the foremost is the mindset of understanding that if you give space to any of these objections or potentially questions that you feel like are going to be troubling, it starts with you, right? And I think that I know it's easier said than done. And, I've shared an example where it's tricky, right? And it's tricky when you're faced with a question that you've never heard before, and you feel like you may have to give an answer right away. And I think this is instances where you have to kind of take a step back for a little bit and observe exactly what they're first asking you, and figure out, you leverage the people around you and your team to be able to access that information. And you tell them, hey, I'm not sure, I've never asked that before, but and be transparent, be honest with them, and let them know I'm going to get back to you. And then this is a really good way for you to put them in touch with a mortgage agent or a lawyer or whatever, right? Leverage the people on your team to give that right information, and so you're not giving false information, which would be detrimental to your business. So I do wanted to say that about objections. Anything else about objections that stood out to you?
Yeah, with objections, I think we tend to take them personal, like they're attacking
Yes.
us or they're questioning us, but literally an objection is just a concern. So we just want to make sure we're listening to them and what their concerns are and just answering that question. And then if you don't know the answer, tell them you're going to circle back to it, and that, you're going to find out the correct answer for them. You don't want to give them the wrong answer, and respect their time, and make sure that you're kind of an authority in that with that knowledge, and not giving them false information. They're going to come back and be like, well, you told me wrong. So, just make sure that we're not taking any of that stuff personal, and that, like you said, don't give too much light to it, because, if we feel like we act like we got caught off guard, then it kind of makes us look, like, oh, they're not ready, they're not prepared. So, just think of it as just a concern, and answer their concern and make them feel better and move on.
Awesome. No, I agree. And, today's topic is really all about taking cold leads and warming them up a little bit, right? And there's a number of strategies that you can use. And another one that we touched upon highly was email marketing. And, the number one thing that I go to with email marketing is make sure that you're in compliance, make sure you're following, for us in Canada, we have the CHA cash show, which is a Canadian anti-spam legislation. And, you're making sure before you add people onto your database, exactly know where they came from. So you have that notified. So in the event that any conversation comes up about, where they've found, you're able to answer those questions. But really important is that, leverage your CRM, folks. Like, you don't have to go reinvent the wheel or start up a new, because there's a lot of tools you're going to be using in this business, and you're starting off as a one-person show. So you don't have to learn all these new tools. And I know I've done so many email campaigns before, anything from Constant Contact to MailChimp, and the fact that it's with our CRM. I know that, MailChimp, for example, Constant Contact, their active campaign is integrated, but I think it's really important to, instead of having to, run separate email marketing, because there's so many emails. You shared an interesting stat today too as well, which I really found that fascinating, is that there's so many out there in emails that people get on a daily basis. So if it's taking you a really long time to put up an email or, do any of that sorts of thing, there's so many different nurturing follow-up strategies that you can use rather than spending your time. But some of the things about email marketing that I do wanted to point out is, stick to a schedule. Create a template so that it's to your brand, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. And another one, I send out market reports that hits all of my leads. So whether they're buyers, seller, whatever hashtag, whatever category they belong in, which is like a market report. And then on a weekly basis, I send them, I share my YouTube videos with them so I can get views on my YouTube video and bring them back to there. But I also share, this is where I send it to people that accurately falls within that category. So I send videos that are particular to people like first-time home buyers or buyers versus something that is more universal or something that's different for investments, and I share it with investors. So I think figuring out and understanding your database is key, and understanding what kind of content you're going to send out, and understanding that there's an intention with all of the tactics that you do, right? And then another one that I put here is just under email marketing. It's just even the ability for them to set up their own search alerts as well.
Oh yeah. But one thing is make sure that you're very specific when you are importing clients or however you're getting them into your CRM. Make sure that you're specific on where they came from, what they were looking at, because you need all the information. You can't be too specific. There's nothing worse than not having enough information. Be like, oh, because then if you know where they came to in the first place, you know how to talk to them. And with the email marketing, that's where it's going to come into play, how to communicate them. You don't want to send them a bunch of seller information when they're a buyer. So, or vice versa. So, and like you said, the statistic that we gave is that they're projecting that it's going to be like 323 million emails, 323 billion emails a day are sent out. And you got to stand out from that. So a lot of your CRMs or email marketing programs will help you, they check your subject lines and they check your body. But if you really want your email to stand out and not go in that spam folder, a lot of times just a standard email, it always works better than all these email templates that look great. It just screams promotional. Gmail, sorts all of that nowadays. So just send a regular email where it looks like something you would just organically send to a friend or a family member, that kind of format. And I think that's going to help, because with email marketing, you get a really like a 2.6% conversion click-through rate and sometimes a 20% open rate. So it's a lot of work for not a high return, especially if you're not emailing out in volumes, then it could be something that cannot return well. So
Absolutely.
we spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, awesome. I think those are some of the big topics that we touched upon today. That I wanted to really mention is that, as you guys know, that we do this recap right after our conversation every time. So that feel free to check this out on YouTube, obviously. And if you have any questions, comment down below. And to see any of the ones you've missed as well, check out our playlist at the bottom under New Realtors, and check out our link. It gives you a list of all the topics that are to come. We're way more than halfway through our sessions. We've started out with 12 sessions for over 6 weeks, and we're just on our 7th one now, and we're getting into the meatier, the exciting topics now. So we want to stay in touch with you. And if you're depending on what stages of your journey, whether you're a new realtor and you just started off, or you're you're an agent who's about to choose your brokerage and join and get your license, feel free to get in touch with myself or Jacob. And I hope you're finding this valuable, and make sure you join our Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group that is in the name of our sessions, which is New Realtor Marketing and Mindset. And I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. Any last words, Jacob, before we close?
That's it. Just basically, like I always say, get out and do it. And don't try to learn everything at once. Just try to apply what little you've learned. Get out there and do it, and just keep adapting. And that's where you're going to find success.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jacob, and stay connected. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.